Well, good morning. How are you all today? And welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I am Steve Smith. First, I want to welcome all the new people, all the new subscribers, both on YouTube and on Patreon. It's great to have you. I didn't do one yesterday because I was doing all my favorite things. I spent the day signing books and shipping them out and working in the garden. For those of you on Patreon, I put some pictures up. The apple trees are coming in great. The tomatoes are coming in. The peppers are coming in. The pears are coming in. The peaches are coming in. It's all coming in. It is great. This looks like a great year, and so I want to talk about food. I've had a couple of people ask over the last. I'm trying to think whether it was on Patreon or what. I think it was on YouTube, actually. A couple of people asked, because I mentioned that you should have 7 years of food, and they said, I can't find your 7 years of food video. And, where is it? How do I find it? Well, I've never dedicated a whole video to the reason for 7 years of food, but I'm going to do that today. I've mentioned it a number of times, and so you kind of have to, as you watch through all my videos, you'll see where I mention it here and there, and I do give the reason, but I'm going to just make this a dedicated, why do you want 7 years of food? And that's where gardening comes in. I'll tell you what, if you're not gardening now, you need to be. You need to be spending 100 times more time gardening than you do shooting. For those who spend a lot of time shooting. Actually, shooting costs you money and gardening makes you money. But I'm going to talk about that, and I'm going to talk about why do I come up with 7 years. And we're gonna get into the story of Joseph here. Now, a lot of people think they know the story of Joseph, and they don't know the whole story. I've done a message on this whole thing over on the Stonemont Church channel. I had some people ask about that, where we didn't know you had a church channel. Yeah, we do. And the link is down below, Stonemont Church. Come on over and join us if that's of interest to you. But people don't know the story of Joseph, and I'm going to teach you, or I'm going to share with you the real story of Joseph, the complete story of Joseph. It's not just a message of preparedness. It's a message of slavery. And of course, the enslavement of people who weren't prepared, and people who don't know that story need to understand it because it is so applicable to what is going on today. You've heard the term or the saying, 9 meals from chaos. We're 9 meals away from chaos. I don't know who came up with that term first, or that saying first. It's been around forever in the preparedness circles, and what it obviously refers to is the fact that 3 meals a day within 3 days of people going without food, they're going to start turning into things that they weren't before. The average person, and I don't know that these figures are right. As a matter of fact, the figures are pretty wide. The average person, they say, has anywhere between 2 days and a week of food in their house. And I'm sure some have 2 days, some probably have none, and some have a week, and that's the average. Now, those of us who prepare, we're not included in that, but that's the average person. And our concern, of course, is the average person. What's going on community-wide or society-wide, because that is what's going to have the impact on the behavior of the community around you and the society around you, and that's what presents a danger to you. So people have, in the case of a catastrophic event, whether that's going to be, a grid down for whatever reason. And I'm going to be making another one probably tomorrow. We'll see. Tomorrow's Father's Day. I may or may not. We got big doings on Father's Day. But if I don't, then I'll do it on Monday, about what I think is the worst possible scenario. But anyway, if the grid goes down, if there are no more deliveries to the stores will be cleaned out quickly. People will run out of food within a matter of days, however many those days are, doesn't matter. That soon they will run out. That's the point. And then, they'll start getting everything they can from the stores and the convenience stores and the gas stations, and and then they'll start going after the vending machines, any place there's food, and pretty soon the food's going to be gone. Okay. Now, the thought of that, even though people think about that, the real horror of that, I think, is lost on most people. The idea that there would absolutely be no food around is just, so foreign to the average person, they can't get their head wrapped around it. And so they avoid it. Well, being involved in preparedness, we don't avoid it. And so I want to talk to why I say 7 years of food is what your goal should be. And I want to put in here before we get into this, there are a lot of people, one comment said, well, I have 2 years and I thought I was good, but you say 7 years. Well, 2 years is 2 years better than nothing, right? So you shouldn't feel badly about that. I just want to give you a goal and my reasoning behind it. And I think you might want to work toward that. And even for the people who are just now beginning, because there are people who are just now beginning. And I want to say to you all, congratulations. Every now and then we'll get some bozo that comes on and makes a comment about, well, if you're not prepared by now, it's too late and you're an idiot and all that. No, it's not too late and you're not an idiot. You just haven't been tuned up like like others of us have. It hasn't been your concern. It for whatever reason has become your concern recently, so good for you. Don't be dissuaded by the fact that you feel like you're so far behind the curve. We don't know when a collapse could happen. Yeah, it could happen tomorrow. It could happen this afternoon, but it also could not happen for another couple of years. And so to put that off, to just feel dejected, it's not going to serve you any good purpose. Realize, since you have kind of become enlightened, whether that was because of food shortages or toilet paper shortages or whatever, if you finally come to the realization that it's important that you be your own storehouse, good for you. And just go at it now, hopefully using some of the things that I'll say. Come at it now in a positive way and let it make you feel good, not afraid. I've just put up over on the Patreon channel one of my very first videos. It was called The Next Step, I think. It was about food preps, how to put together your long-term food stores. Okay, so that's on the Patreon channel. And the Patreon is, the link is down below. It's only $1 a month, and I put so much more over there than I do on YouTube. You really need to be over there if you are really interested or serious about preparedness. So that one's over there, and I talk all about it. And it's not buying the 25-year-old tastes like cardboard stuff that you see advertised. You might even see an advertisement on this for that stuff, and I'll say right off, no, that's not what you want. I show you how to do it over there, or explain to you how to do it. Realize also, as we get into why I'm going to explain here why you want 7 years. The purpose of stored food is to keep you alive until you're able to produce all of the food you need to survive. Okay, that's where gardening and farming comes in. Now, gardening, if you haven't done it, and those of you who have, leave your comments down below because it will be helpful for people just getting started. There is quite a learning curve when it comes to gardening. You don't just, take your seeds and throw them out there. The whole thing comes down and throw them out there. And okay, now I'm growing my own food. It takes years to develop the ability and the understanding and the skills. And developing your land, developing your soil. It takes years to get to the point where you can provide for all of your needs. Okay, so that's the purpose of your food stores, to get you through until you're able, down the road, some years down the road, to provide for all of your needs. Now, whether that is the result of a crash, a great catastrophe, could be, or it could just be you wanting to develop the ability to feed yourself and your family with better food, more nutritious food, not covered with chemicals and poisons, and separate yourself from the system and save a lot of money. The amount of money the average American family spends in food is unbelievable. And, you know, when you're paying the kind of prices that you're paying for produce, for tomatoes and cucumbers and zucchinis and lettuce and all of these things, I mean, when you could have grown it for next to nothing, it will help you so much financially as well as nutritionally. Okay, I want to read to you the story of Joseph. Now, I'll skip through the first part. And I'll tell you what I read out of in a second. Most of you are familiar with the story of Joseph. You know, brothers sold him. He was a snot-nosed kid, you know, bragging about how much better he was. His brothers threw him in a well, then sold him into slavery. He went to Egypt, and I won't go through the whole thing, but he ended up being able to, as God's direction, to discern the meaning of a dream that the Pharaoh had. And what it was, there was a couple of dreams, 7 fat cows and 7 lean cows, and 7 sheaves of grain and 7 withered sheaves of grain. And he explained to Pharaoh what that meant. He said, God's sending you a message that you're going to have 7 years of plenty and then 7 years of famine. And the fact that you've had both of these dreams means it's coming soon. So Pharaoh says, well, I need the smartest guy in Egypt to kind of run and get prepared for this, and you were able to discern my dream with your God's help or with your God's direction, and so I'm putting you in charge. So he put Joseph in charge of preparing Egypt for the coming famine. And so Joseph had a large percentage of all of the grain grown in Egypt brought into the central storehouse so that it would be there during the coming famine. Now, that's the story, and that's the extent that most people know about the story of Joseph. Okay? But I'm going to tell you, as Paul Harvey said, the rest of the story, and it is a frightening lesson. And it applies to today. I'm going to leave out the part. There's a great part there where his brothers come down to Egypt, and they don't know who he is, and they try to buy grain, and a lot of that I'm leaving out. It's an interesting story, and there's a lot of lessons in there, and I think I cover that over on Stonemont Church Channel. But I'm going to jump through that over here to where we cover what really needs to be understood. Okay, and I'm going to read, this is the 47th chapter of Genesis. I'm going to be beginning at verse 13, if you'd like to follow along. I know this isn't church. The one that I use is the New Living Translation because it's more easily understood. And for those of you who are with me on the church channel, you know that I've said this before, but I'll say this on this channel since most people on this channel aren't aware that I cover these things on the church channel. I use the New Living Translation because it's more easily understood by people today. The King James, all of the translations are pretty good, to be honest, but many people who stick with the King James are misled because the way that things were expressed during that time are totally different than are expressed now. And it's more important that you understand the meaning than it is to sound fancy, right? Okay, here we go. So we're in the middle of the famine now. Let me wet my whistle here. By the way, Stonemont mugs are coming soon. Okay, beginning with verse 13. Now pay close attention here. Meanwhile, the famine became worse and worse, and the crops continued to fail throughout Egypt and Canaan. Joseph collected all the money in Egypt and Canaan in exchange for grain, and he brought the money to Pharaoh's treasure house. What did that just say? What did that just mean? He collected all the money. He collected all the money in Egypt and Canaan in exchange for the grain. Now, see, a lot of people think, well, Joseph collected all that grain so that the people of Egypt could be fed. And they think that they were just going to dole out the grain to the people and feed them and keep them going. No, that's not at all what happened. He collected that grain for the government. Okay? He collected it for the government. And as it got worse, Joseph collected, listen to this again, collected all the money in Egypt and Canaan in exchange for grain. And he brought the money to the Pharaoh's treasure house. All the money. The people were starving. Joseph said, the government has food. We will sell you the food so that you can stay alive. Give me all your money. Okay? Is the shock starting to hit in? This isn't the complete story of Joseph that you've heard, is it? Well, it gets worse. When the people of Egypt and Canaan ran out of money, they came to Joseph crying again for food. Our money is gone, they said, but give us bread. Why should we die? Now listen. Well then, Joseph replied, since your money is gone, now it didn't disappear. What happened to it? It's not like it's just gone. It means since we got all your money, right? Since the government now has all your money, give me your livestock. I will give you food in exchange. Okay, now he's saying, I've got all your money. The government has all your money. Pharaoh has all your money. Now give us all your livestock. All those other things that can contribute to your survival, through meat and milk and such. But give me your livestock. I will give you food in exchange. Okay. So they gave their livestock to Joseph in exchange for food. Soon all the horses, flocks, herds, and donkeys of Egypt were in Pharaoh's, read the government's, possession. But at least they were able to purchase food for that year. The next year they came again and said, our money is gone, and our livestock are yours. Meaning, we've given all of our money, all of our livestock to the government. We have nothing left but our bodies and our land. Why should we die before your very eyes? Buy us. What does that mean? Buy us. Enslave us. And our land in exchange for food. We will then become servants, slaves to Pharaoh, slaves to the government, property of the government. Just give us grain so that our lives may be saved, and so the land will not become empty and desolate. And they're trying to go there, well, if we die, you're not going to have any people here, right? So they're trying to make a deal. So Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh. So now the government owns all the land. The government has all the money, all the livestock, all the people, and all the land. All the Egyptians sold him their fields because the famine was so severe, and their land then belonged to Pharaoh. Thus all the people of Egypt became servants, read slaves, to Pharaoh Read the government. Servants to Pharaoh, slaves to the government, property of the government. The only land he didn't buy was that belonging to the priests, for they were assigned food from Pharaoh and didn't need to sell their land. Then Joseph said to the people, "See, I have bought you and your land for Pharaoh. I have enslaved you and taken your land in exchange to feed you. I will provide you with seed, so you can plant the fields. Then, when you harvest it, a fifth of your crop will belong to Pharaoh. Keep 4/5 for yourself and use it to plant the next year's crop and to feed yourselves, your households, and your little ones." What does that sound like? Sharecropping, right? Does that sound like you will own nothing and you will be happy? Well, here's the kicker. "You have saved our lives," they exclaimed. "May it please you, sir, to let us be Pharaoh's servants. May it please you to let us be the government's slaves." Did you all realize that was the total story of Joseph? Food is freedom. Food is life. If you don't have it, you are under the control of those who do. 7 years of food is going to give you the ability to live until you're able to produce all the food you need. Are hard times coming? There may be harder times coming than most people can even imagine, but your ability to feed yourself is going to keep you out of the clutches after, not having to sell yourself and your children to the government. And you see the parallel here. You see the example. Food is freedom. Freedom, some people think, comes out of the end of a gun. Freedom comes out of the soil, being able to provide for yourself. I know. So anyway, I was going to say, I know some people will say, but you have to be able to defend it. That's a given. Don't come on and say something stupid like that. That's a given. So that's why. That's why I suggest 7 years. First off, it's biblical. And secondly, I know how long it takes to be able to develop the ability to provide, to grow all the food you need. Okay? So those of you who have experience in this, please leave your comments down below. And because others can learn from that. And those of you who haven't really yet started, get started. Don't be fearful that you haven't started before, that you're far behind so many other people. Just get at it. Just get started, And you'll be glad you did. Not only will you start being able, it'll be fun, it's fulfilling. There's nothing better than growing your own food for your health, for your wallet. You'll save money, you'll be healthier, and you'll start preparing your ability to live separate from the system of Pharaoh, right? Of the government. Okay, remember that this and all of my videos are brought to you by my books, the Stonemont series. I ran out again. Yesterday, I spent all day signing books and shipping them out, and now the shelves are bare, and I'm putting in another order to get a bunch more in. So they should be here within the next week or two, and those will be getting out. But my books, the Stonemont series, the Reversion, the Revival, and the Renewal, and Appeal to Heaven, the Blessings of Freedom, and Hostages to Fortune, the complete plan for how to prepare for, how to survive, and how to rebuild after a total collapse. A great story read by hundreds of thousands of people around the world, and I just love it. I keep getting messages from people saying, I just got done reading the whole series for the second time or the third time or the fourth time, some even the fifth time, and I continue to learn every time I read it. You'll like it. It's a great story, and like I say, I could make videos for the rest of my life and never cover all the things that I've already covered in detail in these books within a great novel series. And if you haven't read them, I think you'd like them. I think you'd love them, and you'll learn a lot. Those are available both on Amazon. The link is down below, in either paperback or Kindle, or directly from me through our website, stonemont.us. Stonemont.us. That is also down below, and you can ask. Would you like? It'll ask you. Would you like Steve to write something in there, or autograph? I had somebody. This was great. I loved it. I had somebody say, "Would you make it out to me and then put in some kind of saying that Jim Wyatt would say?" That's the main character, or one of the main characters of the book. And would you put a small coffee stain on the page? And I thought that was so cool. That was such a neat request, and I did. And I shipped that out, and it was my pleasure. So the books, Amazon or our website, stonemont.us. Remember that your ability to provide for yourself is all that keeps you from relying on other people, the government, or anybody else that wants to control you. And it is the first and the second and the third and many more steps to your own personal freedom of calling the shots in your own life and taking care and providing for yourself and those who depend on you. So you all have a good day. That's why you should have 7 years. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. And if I'm not back tomorrow, you all have a happy Father's Day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.